What's going on, y'all? I believe we're live. I was looking for the countdown, but apparently the countdown didn't come. So you know what? We're right here. What's going on, everybody? This is Bears Over Beers. I'm Khari Thompson. That is my esteemed colleague, Jacob Infante. How we doing tonight, Jacob?
I'm doing good. I mean, honestly, any chance we get to talk Bears and drink some beers is fine.
Yes, we did the first episode together. It's been a little while since we got paired up again, mixing and matching and doing the whole thing. So it's good to be back with you. I definitely have some questions and some things I want to ask you on the draft front and on the analysis front, because that's the world you live in. But first, before we begin with all that, what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, so also I just realized I don't know if it came over on that side, but I had the YouTube up and I heard the two of us speaking as I was speaking that last part. So that kind of like tripped with my head.
Totally trips you out.
Absolutely. Oh God, yeah. So I don't know if that came through like on my end or what, but no. So this one I got, this is a local brew here in St. Louis. I haven't heard of the brand before. It's Schlafly.
Is it Schlafly? I think it's Schlafly.
Schlafly. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I feel like I've had that before.
Yeah. So this will be Schlafly. I got their vanilla pumpkin ale. So this one, I already opened it, but I haven't tried it yet. So like right after work, I just walked over to the Schnucks, which is like, no, it wasn't Schnucks. It was Deerberg's. We've got all these regional ones. It's basically like Missouri's Jewel Osco for those, up in Chicago. But yeah, so it's I was looking around and I'm like, all right, I wanted to get a local one because I didn't know. I feel like most people probably wouldn't know a St. Louis one compared to the last one that I got, where apparently it was a big deal and I didn't know exactly what brand it was. But
okay.
Yeah, Schlafly. If I'll take your word for it because I'm sure you know more than I would. But this is vanilla pumpkin ale, so I'm excited to dig into this one. It's a little different from anything I've had before, so we'll see. It's either going to be great or terrible. So I don't know. We'll see.
I was like, how eccentric of you. See, that's the kind of thing that I do. I like to try random beer.
Yeah.
Like, for example, there's actually this one beer out here in Boston. UFO Blueberry by this place called like UFO Brewing. I forget what their parent brewery is, but it was the very first beer I ever had in Boston. So when I came out in 2018 to interview for my job that I got, I just like strolled into this bar that was by the hotel I was staying in and got this blueberry beer. And now every time I grab it, because I recognize what it was, I've been hunting for it for years. My wife is just like, dog, what is this? Like, this is the weirdest beer of all time. Like, why do you insist on drinking such strange beer? That's just me. I like to adventure. But this is an old favorite of mine, Founders KBS. I'm going heavy tonight. 12%. Wonderful, just like coffee sort of stout right here. Like we're gonna have fun with this.
Oh yeah, there we go. No, that's one thing I've been trying to get into more is like some of the heavier beers. I've never been a big, like, I'm more of a light beer type of guy.
Got you.
Like, I mean, keep in mind, like most of my drinking experience, like to this point, has been either college or work happy hours. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends aren't to the point where it's like, oh, we can sit down and let's go to a brewery and try like a so like something like a local brew or something. And that's always been, an aspect I've always wanted to dive into. So 12% though, we're going hardcore, I feel like.
Oh yeah, no, I go in.
Oh yeah.
So actually Ryan was on here when I was on with him last time. He brought a 14. Now I've gone as high as 18 before.
Yeah.
That was I can't find one that heavy, so he's kind of got me beat on that one. I really need to find one so I can match his freak. You know what I mean? But actually last night, I don't know if you drink Long Island iced teas. I had a Long Island iced tea last night after getting some football in, some live action football.
Oh yeah.
So I'm celebrating, not ripping my knee to shreds, that kind of thing. But listen. We're going to talk about a different kind of live action football. The Chicago Bears going into their bye week 4-2. all that fretting that we were kind of doing, in the previous weeks. We were just like, man, this is a must win against like the Jaguars and a must win against this team. Like after they lost to the Colts and all that, 4-2 heading into the bye now. Still not first place in the NFC North because the NFC North is crazy. Everybody has 4 or more wins. It just kind of is what it is. Best division in football right now, but got to feel pretty good about where the Chicago Bears are right now, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, from the last time that we, hopped on together, it's just kind of looking at it from the perspective of, you're going into the bye week with 3 straight wins. The last 2 especially were emphatic. You had 2 teams that, let's face it, you were expected to beat. And not only did you win those games, but you did so in dominating fashion. And that's why I get so pissed off. Well, not pissed off, but like annoyed.
Cook. I know where you're going.
Where it's like, oh, well, they didn't play anyone good. Who cares if they're 4-2? That's what the good teams do, though. Like they play these, these subpar, crappy teams. I mean, crappy by NFL standards. They could destroy me on a football field. I'll just say that. But all things considered, though, it's, subpar. And the Bears took care of business. They've been taking care of business the last 2 weeks, especially. They beat the Rams, somewhat pretty decisively. It wasn't a blowout or anything, but still a strong win. And the last 2 games have been, dominant on both sides of the ball. So I look at it as more of an optimistic thing than, the Bears are frauds. They haven't played anybody yet. Yeah. Because, I mean, it'd be one thing if they were 4-2 and they were scraping away with 3-point wins against the Jaguars and Panthers, but that's not what's happening. I mean, the last game they won by 19, the game before they won by 26. I mean, those are pretty emphatic victories no matter who you're playing. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. You bring up the NFC North being the best division in football. So far, that's absolutely the case. I'm interested to see now, is this division going to cannibalize itself, or are they going to be competitive enough with each other that they can take advantage of their weak non-con, non-divisional games and then, do decent enough within the NFC North? We could see for the first time all 4 teams making it to the playoffs in the same division, which we'll see. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe that'll age like milk. But so far, all 4 teams are looking pretty dang good.
Yeah, and I think the thing to keep in mind too is, right, 6 games into the year, week 7, right? There are bound to be some injuries or something's going to go wrong with one of the teams. Knock on wood. Don't have it be the Bears. I just please God. But something's going to change, right? Not that I expect that one of the teams or multiple are going to completely fall off and be terrible, because I think that all of them are at least decent, right? But you have questions, I think, about things like, okay, how is Sam Darnold really going to keep this up all year? Is he really going to look this solid? I think we know the Vikings defense is an absolute menace, and that's probably not going to change. But Green Bay kind of feels like, look, I think Jordan Love has kind of, knocked the rust off, but I think even for him, when he plays really anybody, he gives you some opportunities to come down with some footballs down the field. Like, some of this stuff is like, yeah, I'm going to throw it off my back foot and float it down the middle of the field, and it's going to work because it always works. What happens when that doesn't work at the wrong time, right? The Lions, I mean, the Lions are going to be the interesting one because they are still a good team without Aiden Hutchinson, but losing Aiden Hutchinson is just massive. It's really hard to overstate how ugly that injury was and how unfortunate that you don't want to see that kind of thing for your divisional opponents. I don't think that means necessarily that they are definitely the team that's going to fall off, because I think they've got enough talent on both sides of the ball to keep on continuing to play well. But it'll be interesting to watch them. I think the Bears are the biggest wild card because of Caleb Williams, because they've got the rookie quarterback who is he is straight up ascending right now. I mean, you look at some of the grades and stuff like that, like the totality of like his efficiency and his PFF grades aren't good because the first couple of weeks were pretty rough, let's be honest, at least from an efficiency standpoint. But he has taken huge leaps forward in the last 3 weeks, right? His passer rating's gone from 55.7 and 51 in his first 2 weeks to 80.8, solid. Then 106.8, 126.2, 124.4. And look, passer rating is a stat that you need to take with context. But in the end, when you pile them up, you can generally say that that guy is playing pretty good football. And again, 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, it was against the Jaguars. I don't care. He threw 4 touchdown passes in a game in his, 6th game as a rookie. That's got to feel pretty good. And it was also, when you look at it on tape, it looks good, right? He looks like a good NFL quarterback right now.
100%. And I found the stat that was actually when I was doing a little bit of research into the start that Caleb Williams had, especially the last couple of weeks. Having both of those games, like you mentioned, under 60 in the passer rating, and then following it up with one in the 80s, and then 3 games over 100 in the passer rating. I mean, that's very strong. So I want to pull this up here just real quick. So it's through the last 3 games. He ranks at least in the top 5 in the NFL in all of passer rating, passing touchdowns, adjusted completion percentage. So like factoring in drops, just passes that were on target, and big time throws. So top 5 in the league in all of those the last 3 weeks. And I mean, I agree. I think that looking at the Bears, there's still a matter of, is this going to be Caleb Williams throughout the entire season? I think it will be, but I mean, there's still that unknown aspect of it. Still a relatively unproven unit as far as making it to the postseason, whereas the Lions, they've been there before. The Packers, they've been there before. Yep. I mean, the Vikings, a decent amount of their guys, and at least the coaching staff was there when they made it to the playoffs the one year they, had that Mickey Mouse run. But look, it's going to be, I think you can look at Caleb Williams and see the growth from the start of the year to now. And I think that's what's the most exciting part about the Bears season right now. I mean, the defense is looking great. Yeah. The offensive line still not great, but it's getting a little better. The run game's back. The receivers are looking good. Cole Kmet's being utilized to his full potential, but it's really the growth. It's really the growth of the rookie quarterback and the ability to see, all right, he's struggling in this week 1 and week 2. He looks a lot better here in weeks 4, 5, and 6. And I think that bodes so well from a long-term perspective. And I think it's something, I don't remember exactly where he ranked, but as far as quarterbacks looking past his first read, he was one of the top from a percentage standpoint of going through his progressions. First read isn't there. Okay, boom, find someone else. And I think that some of the tools that we're seeing here and some of the traits that are being displayed on tape, I think that can be the success. That can be the point of success for like long-term sustainable football.
Yeah. And I actually wanted to bring up that chart that you're referring to about the looking past your second read, because he was kind of in that. So in a 4 grid quadrant, right? So he was like in that good EPA, higher percentage of the time looking past his first read. And on one hand, you're looking at that, at least for me, and it's like, that's good, right? Being able to look past your first read when it's not there and be able to complete at a high percentage. Now, what concerns me is that, and somebody kind of put this in a kind of good way right here, is like that quadrant of the graph suggests you're not getting your first read schemed open enough. And that's something that I'm looking at with the play calling and with the scheme itself of Shane Waldron. I think we've been getting better in the last couple of weeks in that regard. A lot of criticism for Shane Waldron in the first 3 weeks, especially. And then obviously, they hit another gear once they started playing a certain caliber of opponent. But again, I think you want to be able to see Caleb Williams get through that first read when it's not there and be able to make plays when when it's not there. But I think you also still want to see something a bit more balanced in terms of, it would be really nice if his first read was open, right? And you could just rip it right off the bat without having to think about it. And those tend to be the ones where it shouldn't necessarily be viewed as a negative if somebody's making a lot of really good plays on the first read. That means it's open and it means you're taking it, right? So I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's more heavily skewed towards the beginning of the year when things weren't looking so good on the passing concepts, and maybe it's getting better with time. I'll have to go back and look at that, but I'm kind of wondering what you're thinking about that as you watch the tape.
Yeah, so I think, you bring up a lot of good points where you're looking at it from some of the, the week-to-week development, not just being it's not just coming from Caleb Williams, it's coming from Shane Waldron as well. And yeah, I think there are some times where you can see the first reads not getting open, whether it's, I think it's probably more of a concept perspective, depending, on the personnel and the formation that they're facing. Just because the receivers the Bears have, Keenan Allen's a high level separator. And I know I saw some stat where it's like his separation numbers haven't been incredibly high, but you turn on the tape, he's getting NFL open. And I think that's what matters the most. And even if he's not leaving his guy in a cloud of dust, he's providing just enough separation. There's a consistent window. I mean, you saw it in the first touchdown pass that they had. I mean, even the second too, both the touchdown receptions Keenan Allen had in week 6, both were, fairly tightly contested, but he was able to just create enough subtle separation and drop, catch the ball in a place where only he could get it. And Caleb has done a very good job of hitting him right in the hands, just out of reach of the defensive back. So yeah, I mean, part of it I think is a concept thing. I want to say Waldron's done a better job over these last couple weeks of, starting to adjust a little bit. I know I mentioned earlier in the show, the bringing in Cole Kmet a little bit more, utilizing him across the middle. Sorry, I saw the most recent comment, Josh Winslow. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. That's wild.
You're never going to be able to escape that one.
That's me.
Honestly, that is really what you're most famous for. Josh, I don't know that we needed that on stream, but we appreciate your patronage. We appreciate you watching. Make sure the camera's off when you're doing that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you can do it for me, but to me, I think that's a little much. But I don't know. It's it's 2019. You do whatever you want. So
on another note, I think when we're talking about Cole Kmet, I think he's always that guy that really kind of completes the set when it comes to pass catchers, because he's so good against zone. In the end, if a team's going to sit up there and try to confuse Caleb Williams, all the weapons he's got on the outside, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, all these guys that can separate against man coverage if you need them to. And Cole Kmet is just your guy who just finds space. He just finds a way to be there when you need him to be, when it's like, okay, well, they took that guy away. They took that. Oh, Cole Kmet's right there. Let me go ahead and hit him for a 6-yard gain. And you keep it pushing, right? I think the biggest development offensively, though, aside from all of that, is DeAndre Swift getting back on track, because that was an ugly start to the season for him. Just nothing going right. And you knew he could catch the ball, and you knew he could be explosive. And you're just wondering where it all was. And I think a big part of it was deciding, you know what, we're going to get in 12, we're going to get in 13 personnel, we're going to get heavy. We're going to put Caleb Williams under center. We are going to hand DeAndre Swift the ball with a full head of steam at the line of scrimmage and just go, right? None of this static stuff where, I think I mentioned it on stream at one point. None of this, like, Matt Forte mentioned it, like that's for elite offensive lines, shotgun runs, especially shotgun runs on short yardage situations. Get downhill, be the hammer, not the nail. And I think they've started to do that with DeAndre Swift, and I think he's really taken to it. And again, he's got that ability to catch the ball and make plays in space, and really opening that aspect of the game. Look, in the end, we know how important it is to pass in this league. To be an explosive offense, you need to really be able to pass the ball. But I really do think I kind of like this idea of you pass to score, but you run it to win. If you can't run the football, like it's one thing if like you just don't do it because your passing game is so good, but you can do it if you want to / when you need to, right? Like the Kansas City Chiefs with like Isaiah Pacheco, right? They can pass the ball however much they want with Patrick Mahomes, but they can run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco whenever they want. If you cannot, like literally can't run the football, you get the kind of stuff you're getting from the Chicago Bears in the first couple of weeks, where it's one-dimensional, it's ugly, right? It doesn't matter how good your other skill position players are. If you cannot run the ball, then you got problems. And the Bears being able to run the ball again, I think it's been arguably one of the keys in them winning.
Yeah, and so I'd have to go and pull up the numbers to see like exactly how the runs, stack up. It's maybe they've done, if they've done more gap versus zone, whatever exactly the numbers are. But I do feel like, like you said, the handoffs from, with Caleb being under center, DeAndre Swift getting a little bit more room, a little bit more space to build up momentum. I think that's definitely been an aspect of what's helped the run defense or the run game work as well as it has, or at least, improve the way that it has. And part of it, I think, comes down to the personnel on the offensive line. I mean, you're looking at some of the guys who've been playing. I mean, Matt Pryor coming in now being the primary right guard over Davis. That's a big dude. That's a big guy. If you can get him in a condensed space, he's going to dominate. If you ask him to be a wide zone blocker, you ask him to, climb to the second level, he's not going to be able to do that. He's not athletic enough to do that. And I guess when, Bill Murray played a little bit, once he replaced Tevin Jenkins, he had that really good game.
Patriots legend Bill Murray, man. By the way, it's like, send a gift card to the New England Patriots and their offensive line coaching for developing that for you. I was there, kind of for the beginning of Bill Murray's career out there with the Patriots. You heard just so many good things about him. He was a defensive lineman. Wasn't getting a whole lot of play, so they converted into offensive line. You just heard so many good things about his work ethic and, the way that he got better year over year. He never made the 53-man roster, but they made sure to keep him on the practice squad and keep him growing. And now the Chicago Bears are reaping the benefits.
Yeah,
I love that for him. I honestly, I love that he found a spot in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm happy for him too. Like, I don't think he overlapped with, because didn't Dante Scarnecchia or whatever, the old Patriots line coach, he retired beforehand. But
yeah,
whoever came after him, set that standard in place. They still coach their offensive linemen up pretty well. Or at least they did when Belichick was there. Now it's a little, but
yeah, I think like, yeah, partly with them, it's somewhat coaching, but it's largely talent. Like they're down to like their fourth or fifth left tackle, and they've got some dude nobody ever heard of, like Davante Jacobs, like playing right tackle. Yeah. They can't figure out what they want to do with Mike Onwenu. They pulled a dude off the street to be their center last week, and he was their best offensive line. He was actually good. Like, like he played well. Give it to him. But yeah, the Patriots offensive line is in shambles right now. They got a lot of work to do on it. I'll at least say this for the Chicago Bears and their group. I think they have more depth, and I think that's showing, right? In what they've got right now. The fact that you could bench your whatever $8 million, $10 million right guard and put Matt Pryor in there, and the fact that he's adapted well enough to continue to be playable for you. It's really nice.
Yeah. And I mean, that sticks with Bill Murray, that sticks with Pryor, obviously. And I'm going to be interested in seeing how they factor in Ryan Bates as well, once he comes back from injury, because he's someone with starting experience. And that's not even factoring in Karan Amagaji either, who's, they've played him a little bit as like a 6 offensive lineman, line him up as an inline tight end of sorts. Obviously, with him being, coming off an injury last year and him being a Yale guy from the FCS, there's a little bit of a learning curve. You don't want to throw him right into the fire right out of the gate, but slowly but surely bringing him in, I think he's the type of guy who can have, legit starting potential. So you have a guy like that, we're not even talking about, we're talking about Pryor and Murray, and then, eventually Bates when he comes back. That's a far cry from the offensive line depth that the Bears had the last couple of years. So, I mean, the actual, the starting unit itself, it's solid. Now, I don't want to say it's, it was bad.
It's average.
Yeah,
It's
it was.
average.
Yeah, it was bad to start the year, but it's gotten to the point where it's acceptable. It's an acceptable group, and I'm okay with that because I feel like Caleb
Acceptable is better than crap.
Absolutely,
and the thing is, you can work with acceptable. You can coach up acceptable, and I think acceptable, as I think you were about to say, acceptable is good enough for Caleb Williams to do stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I think then part of that comes down to I trust Caleb as a processor and as a decision maker enough to where, even if the offensive line, has a bad rep, some guy gets beat and there's pressure coming off the edge, I can trust Caleb to sense that coming, and I can trust him to, climb the pocket or scramble outside and, or get the ball out quickly. There are other times where there's some quarterbacks, some starting quarterbacks around the league. That's not necessarily the case. And I know with the Bears in the past, that hasn't always been the case either. But I feel like Caleb, as a rookie, even, I'm so impressed with how good of a decision maker he is. And I feel like that's something that was overlooked with him coming out of USC. Everyone loves the arm. Everyone loves the athleticism. Everyone loves the backyard scrambling, creative, out of structure plays. But the ability to go past his first read, to find the open man, and part of that helps, I think, Cole Kmet, like we've been talking about. We gave him crap early on because, hey, he can't really separate against man coverage. But they don't need him to now. Nope. You've got DJ Moore, you've got Keenan Allen, you've got Roma Dunze, guys that can do that. All you need Cole Kmet to be is just a security blanket across the middle of the field who can eat up soft spots in zone coverage. That's exactly what Cole Kmet can do. That's where he thrives. And I'm really happy that he's finally being utilized there. He's been a good starter for some time, and I think that the majority of, where a lot of his value comes from, he's a safe target. You can throw him the ball in tight coverage. You can trust him to, work himself open, to find that space and just kind of sit in it and make himself available for the quarterback. So, when you factor in that, you factor in better offensive line play, you factor in Caleb as a decision maker, there's definitely, a lot to be excited about.
Just like I said, he completes the set. Okay. It's great when you have a bunch of guys that can separate against man coverage, right? But not every team is going to be a strictly man coverage team. And some teams like the Minnesota Vikings are going to do a lot of weird stuff. Yeah. And you got to find somebody who gets open when the other team is trying to confuse the hell out of you. And Cole Kmet continually shows that he can be that guy that just makes himself available, gets open for you. And again, I just feel like on paper, this is starting to look like the operation we thought we were getting on paper to start the year. Really quick, let us take a short break so we could tell you about one of our sponsors. It's the greatest time of the year. Again, football is back and it's here to stay until February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats, like touchdowns, passing yards, and more. I have been getting into the Underdog app lately, and I love really that you can just kind of like pick between, I don't know, I go up to about 6 players when I do it, like 6 different picks, and you can still win some money, even if you only win like 4 out of 6. It's kind of nice. I still would like to hit all 6 because there's a pretty good payout when you do that, but we're working on it. Still digging it so far. Now, making picks on Underdog is straightforward. Signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app on UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code CITY, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code CITY to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. You must be 18 years or older, 19 years and older in some states, and 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona. Okay. I'm in Massachusetts. Fortunately, I'm old, so this does not apply to me. And make sure that it is present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Now, back to football. And specifically the fact that we, Chicago Bears fans, don't have any to watch for the Chicago Bears this week. It is the bye week. Now, we all know we're still going to be watching football this week. I'm curious, what are you going to be watching? What are you going to be doing during the bye week now that we don't have Chicago Bears?
Yeah, so as far as that Sunday goes, I'm still trying to figure it all out. I feel like I want to keep track of that Panthers-Commanders game that's taking place around 3 o'clock, at least Central Time. And, part of that is obviously you've got the Commanders, who the Bears are going to be playing in 2 weeks, just, get a good feel, kind of what to expect going into that. But also the Bears have the Panthers' second-round pick, the last of the haul to come from that 2023 draft. So I'm very excited about that. So far, I mean, they're 1-5. There's still plenty of season left to play, but things are looking like that's going to end up being an early second-round pick for Chicago, in addition to their own first-round pick and their own second-round pick. So I'm very excited about that. I think that's a game I'm going to watch, not necessarily expecting it to be close, but that's one that I'm 100% looking forward to. As far as the noon game goes, I mean, I guess Texans Packers. I call it a hate watch, call it whatever you want. I think those are two very good teams playing at the top of their game right now. Texans being 5-1. I want to see how, given the fact that the Bears lost to the Texans, I want to see how the Packers stack up. And it's apples and oranges that you're comparing, and it doesn't ultimately matter until the Bears play the Packers. But just to see kind of where they stack up is going to be interesting. Saturday, I'm going back to Mizzou. I'm going back for homecoming.
Oh, Luther Burden Jr.
That's going to be a good time. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Luther, dude. He's just, he's something special. And
I remember watching him. It was Thanksgiving 3 years ago. I was down in Chicago visiting family, and I popped on the Illinois State high school state finals.
Oh man.
First time I ever saw this dude. And I just remember thinking, who is that? Because listen, like I ran track against the East St. Louis kids, and I knew about them. Like I know they're all fast. Like I know like they're great athletes. I know they're good at football and stuff like that. But you know how this is, because you watch tons of players every year. There are some people where you're just like, ooh, like okay, that guy is good. It's like, okay, you might be something. You're in some guys you look at like, okay, who the is that?
Yeah.
Who is that? He's just out there making people look like they're not playing the same sport, and he's still doing it. He's still doing it against the best players in the country. It's hilarious.
Absolutely. And it's kind of wild to think about. Like, I think you sum it up perfectly, where even in the SEC, sometimes Luther Burden looks like a man among boys. Just how quick he is, how powerful he is. He's, at least after the catch, one of the strongest receivers I've ever watched. And, the contact balance he has, the ability to plow over guys, stay upright.
He's from East St. Louis.
Yeah. Yeah. So East St. Louis, I remember. So East St. Louis ended up coming up to Lisle. I went to Bennett Academy for high school, and they played us in this, the state semis. We're expecting to get crushed. They had a guy, Jeff Thomas, at the time, who ended up playing receiver in Miami. I think he spent a camp with the Patriots. I'm trying to remember, but they just another level, just incredible speed, power. That was one of the best high school performances I've seen. And then watching, I didn't get to see Luther in high school live, but going back and watching the highlights and watching little clips here and there, it's like, that's not fair. Like, this is a grown, it feels like it's a grown man, a guy who's already at NFL level speed and power.
Crazy.
I want to run this by you first, because I'm curious what your answer is going to be, but I want to hear what the best high school player you've ever seen live was.
Like you talking about in person.
In person. Yeah.
Oh, easy. Jalen Smith.
Oof. Yeah.
He played my brother in state semis back in Indiana. He's Fort Wayne Bishop Lures. Just he was just he's out there. He hurt and it's illegal to hurdle in Indiana high school football. And he's doing it anyway just for fun. He was playing running back and linebacker. And I swear to look, we had a guy who went, he played quarterback at Northern Illinois. He's a really good athlete, a good dual threat quarterback and all that stuff. He ate that kid.
Oof.
It just was sad to watch, because he was a really good athlete versus generational athlete when he was healthy. And then of course I go to Notre Dame when he goes to Notre Dame, meaning Jalen Smith. Yeah. And so I got to watch him that whole time. And you're watching him again, you're watching him against Division I college prospects. He's just out there making everybody look like they're moving in slow motion. You can't escape him. He's everywhere. Yeah. And just that injury is just brutal, right? Because I was watching it on TV when it happened, when his knee got totally torn up. And I honestly give him a ton of credit for eventually getting back to a point where he even had one elite season that got him paid. Right? Because that, for him being good enough to have that, the life-changing money after everything that he went through. And again, he had one good year. And then after that, things kind of went off the rails. And his body just didn't do the stuff he needed it to do anymore. But at his peak, man, that was it was incredible stuff. I also watched Alex Mack he went to Ohio State. Also, he played against my brother the next year. Oh, but my brother's team won, which is the wild part. There you go. But it was also a slot bowl, so he didn't really have that many big plays. He had an end around for a touchdown, I want to say. But yeah, he was just one of those dudes who's that guy's he's going D1. He's gonna play. So yeah, those two. Real quick, can I actually just say something? I played against K1 Short, so I should also put him on there.
There you go.
K1 almost killed me on a punt return. So I was a punt returner back today. And, so I catch this punt. It was a decent punt return too. I think I picked up 29 yards on it or something like that. But I'm going left, right? And he's out there, right? He's so big, you cannot miss this dude. Yeah. And I'm going left, and I see him coming out of the corner of his eye, moving full speed. And I swear to God, my life flashed before my eyes. Ooh. I juked so hard that I rolled my own ankle. And it swelled up after the fact, but he didn't touch me. That's all that mattered. He didn't hit me. And I was my ankle wasn't right for weeks, but I lived. And then of course I get to tell everybody oh yeah, that dude was a Pro Bowler at one point. You know what I mean? So I should also put him in that conversation.
That's a good shout. I mean, I wish I had one, because I didn't play all 4 years in high school. So unfortunately, I missed out a little bit. And, us being, Chicago suburbs, there were a handful of people I missed out on. I think one in particular, the best guy I played against. He went to Purdue, but he's actually still playing right now. He's as a grad student at Chattanooga. He was like a top 20 FCS offensive tackle last year in PFF grade or something like that. So I think he's probably the best one like I've gone up against, but definitely the best one I watched. Senior year, I didn't play. I was on the coaching staff as like a student assistant sort of deal, and my school played Nazareth Academy, and that's where JJ McCarthy was making his first start as a true sophomore when I was a senior, and the way that he stepped in right out of the gate, he must have thrown for like 5 touchdowns, well over 300 yards. And he looked so much faster than everybody else on the field too. I'm like, all right, I've seen some, I'd be like, oh yeah, I think this guy could go D1. I think this guy's a good player. I'm like, no, JJ is going to the NFL. Like this is as much of a pro football looking player. Just his deep touch and the accuracy and the timing. Like, I mean, in Nazareth, especially then, had a good handful of D1 guys at receivers. So I'm sure that helped, but still the arm talent, the accuracy down the field. I mean, that gave me a little bit of a bias towards him. I'll admit, as I was watching him at Michigan, some people were kind of hating him. He's like, oh, he does not ask to do anything. I'm like, I might be seeing this through, rose-colored glasses, but still, even then on tape, you can see the flashes with him. And I remember looking at that game. I'm like, okay, I can't even be mad that my school lost by like 30 points. That was, that's just unbelievable quarterbacking. I don't think I'm ever going to see anything like that in person again at the high school level. So
yeah, it's like sometimes when you see it, right? And I think with somebody like JJ, I joked, right, that and people jumped on me for this, but I was just like, JJ doesn't throw the ball except on 3rd and 2, and then he converts it. So
yeah,
right, because they run, but it's like 4 yards every run, and then he throws it on 3rd and 2, and he converts it. And everybody's like, no, look at these stats. Like, I don't care. I'm joking. Let me get my jokes off. But I mean, I think that you can say he didn't do that much, or like they didn't ask him to do much, but whatever they asked him to do, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just because you're not called on to do something every single time, it's like, it doesn't mean that like if you literally get it done basically every single time you're asked to do it, doesn't mean you're not good. As a matter of fact, it just means you should get more opportunities to do it. So I'll be interested to see what happens with Jay. I wonder what would have happened this year had he not gotten hurt. Would he have pushed at all? I mean, it probably still would have been Sam Darnold starting, and may very well have been a red shirt year for JJ McCarthy anyway. Not that I think that, like, I feel like that's not necessarily the worst thing for him. And especially in this case, it's like there's no controversy attached to it. He's getting a red shirt year, and you can sit, you can learn, you can see stuff. You're not getting the practice reps, obviously, but you're able to see how the operation works, and then you get to come in and check it out next year. Not everybody gets that, right? So I think it'll be really interesting to see how his career turns out. I'll throw in one more name real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
A guy who I don't know that he played any official snaps in the NFL, but he was bouncing around Broncos camp and stuff. A guy named Davante Bellamy. So
wait, hold on. Is he Western Michigan?
I think he was Western Michigan in college. He was another Indiana boy. So he once again played against my brother's school. and I went to a major football school. So it's like, it's actually not surprising. I've like, oh God, I ran into a bunch of dudes that played at Purdue.
Oof.
I actually I played against a bunch of Division I guys now that I think about it. Yeah. But so my brother, though, got up against Davante Bellamy, and again, he's like, I don't know, small back, right? He's really like, I don't know, 5'9", 5'10", something like that, but 4.4 speed, right? Legit 4.4 speed. So it's like they bottled him up for most of the game. He didn't really do anything, but he caught a screen pass at one point. And then you saw him dipping, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's what it is. That's what 4.4 speed looks like. It was real, right? Real with pads. And especially in high school where it's like, yeah, you get the odd guy who's fast, who can run like a 4.5. I could run like a 4.6 back in the day, but that's like one of those where it's just like, yeah, that dude's moving at a slightly different speed
Yeah.
than everybody else. And then of course he goes to college and has a good career, and he's still running like that, right?
Oh yeah.
But like that's the thing, especially when you're a running back, right? Like being 5'9, 5'10, 4.4 speed, it's almost like to be that short, you got to be like more bricked up than that, and you got to be faster than that even. It's like not everybody gets to be Ashton Jeanty, right?
Yeah.
Which,
I
mean, by the way, I gotta know, like, what do you think when you watch that guy?
I've just so many happy thoughts.
This dude stands back there like Michael Myers.
Just
like, what is this
the soul of the opposition? No. And it's crazy because coming into the season, I mean, I did have Ashton Jeanty as my running back 1 coming into this year.
Oh, that seems like a good move on your part.
Oh yeah, yeah. But now I'm looking at it like, all right, the more I watch of him, the more I fall in love with his tape, the better I feel like he gets. I'm starting to think like, I think he's getting close to like that Bijan level. And he ended up going top 10. And I mean, like Bijan's bigger than Ashton Jeanty, but I think Jeanty's, shiftier. I think he's a better pass catcher.
Yeah, and his pass pro. Not to say that Bijan's not good at pass pro, but yeah. I think Jeanty's pass pro is like he stones people. Like he is. God, he's a physical dude. His contact balance is just something else. Oh, like I don't understand. It's like that old video where it's like somebody does the parody of Marshawn Lynch doing the doing the Beastquake run, where he's just like, how does he get through all these motherfuckers? And it's just like, how is he just going through people like that? It's like and of course he gets in the open field and he can outrun you. Like he's got. I always watch this because I was a runner, right? I enjoyed, like I was in track and field and all that stuff, right? But I watch when people run, and he runs with somebody who can maintain speed.
Yeah.
Or like somebody who can maintain speed. So I don't know if he does track or if he did track or what have you, but it's like he picks him up and puts him down with purpose, but with efficiency. You see some guys out there swinging their arms all crazy or whatever, and they look like they're trying super hard. Him, it looks easy as hell. Like, like he's easily, like the slowest he's going to run at the combine is a 4.5 something. But again, even then, right? People are like, oh, well, that's not even that fast. For like his build, 4.5 is really good. But again, it's like, it's not just about what the time looks like on a 40. When he gets to unfurl and get the legs going, yeah, I bet you he could run away from people in the end. Totally.
Yeah. And like that breakaway speed is solid, but like I think especially what's more important is that short area burst that he has. Like I think that explosiveness in a vacuum is what's really most impressive about him, at least from an athletic perspective. And then you bring in the like the contact balance, just how tough he runs, how powerful he is. He's not even a massive dude. Like he's not, he's under 6 feet. He's like what? I'd have to check, like little over 200 pounds, but he's not
he's listed at 5'9", 215. He does not look 215. He looks big.
Yeah. I mean, that's a sturdy dude. And him being like just naturally lower to the ground is some of the best balance I've seen as a runner. He can run through you. He can bounce off you. He can run around you. I mean, there's so many different ways that he can break away and beat you. And it's gotten to the point, like, I think, he's he better be a first round pick. He better be a first round pick. I've seen enough of him to this point where he's going to have a true first round grade on my board unless something disastrous happens in the, second half of the year. But I think that's one of those instances where he's a true 3-down, do it all back. And the pass protection too. Like I know Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina, is another dude. I really like his pass pro.
I do too. And I think Omarion has some good explosiveness in space. I peeped that when watching Drake Maye last year. And I was like, okay, this dude can move a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he had some fumbling issues, if I kind of recall when I was watching.
Yeah. And I think that with Hampton, it's a lot of the case of he's big, he's fast. I don't think his ball carrier vision's as good as Jeanty. And I still have to figure out. I have it pretty close right now between Hampton and Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State.
Okay,
as my running back 2 right now. I mean, I'll definitely watch more guys as the season progresses. Right now, I'm just trying to get more guys on my board. But yeah, it's gotten to the point. Jeanty's far and away the running back 1, and that's not even a slight to the other guys because I think this is a pretty good running back class, and that's also why I think I did a mock draft and I had the Bears taking a running back in like round 3, maybe something like that. And they're like, oh, what are you thinking? This is crazy. This is way too high. Bears don't need a running back. And I'm like, yeah, in my defense, DeAndre Swift was pretty bad at the time. He's picked things up, but
I still think honestly, I don't disagree with you in that even now. Because here's what I'm going to say, right? So what DeAndre Swift's on like a 3-year contract, I want to say. Yeah. So you look at it and say like, okay, maybe you got 2 years of good DeAndre Swift in you. But I think running back is one of those positions you need to keep on churning at. And if you find right now, the Bears don't have any super standout running back talent. Yeah. Right. You could say like you like that, like you like DeAndre Swift, like things that he's doing. You like Roschon Johnson for certain situations as a change of pace guy who runs downhill, can pass protect, catch the ball when you want it, tip the ball to himself on a hilarious Caleb Williams throw, like like a forearm flick, like off to the side, which I was just like, no, that's like some Madden Creative player stuff. But again, I feel like I think you keep on churning that. And I said this a couple of years ago with the Patriots when I was out here thinking about their drafting. People thought I was crazy. I was like, they're not drafting a running back. And they drafted 2 of them because they were just like, yeah, we need some depth behind Ramondre Stevenson over here. So like running back is, I think the running game and individual running backs are not as important as they used to be. But running back and the running game are still important.
Yeah.
I feel like we can't act like running the football is not important. I'm a stats guy. I'm a data guy. I'm a data nerd guy, but I'm also just a football guy. I used to be a running back. It's like running the football matters.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, it sounds like cliches and all that, but find me a team that sucks at running the football, that sucks at it, that wins Super Bowls. Like, I'm not talking about a team that doesn't run the football that often because their passing game is so good, but a team that actively sucks at running the ball.
You can't find it. And I think that's part of it too. It's like, whether it's the offensive line or the scheme, and I think it's especially important to keep investing in the offensive line. But I love the thought, like you said, of even if it's like, 4th rounders, 5th rounders, bringing in a running back every year, because there are guys who
easier to do that than bringing a quarterback every year, like Ryan Pace was talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the hit rate's way higher. And like, you're still, even then, like you're drafting a quarterback 4th or 5th round, best case scenario, he doesn't play realistically, because you're not drafting him to be the starter. A 4th round running back or a 5th round running back, you can get some production out of that. You've seen rookies, late round guys, mid round guys who have contributed right out of the gate. like, Isaiah Pacheco being one of them. Good shout out, blast from the past, Chicago Bears, Jordan Howard, for his 3 years. For his 3 years, he was a good producer.
That was a guy that I saw in his very first training camp.
Yeah.
Immediately, like literally, I saw him for one practice up next to Jeremy Langford, and I was like, no, Jordan Howard's the best back on the team. Yeah. And it took like 3 weeks for him to win the starting job, and then that was it. And then he was going.
Yeah, no, and it was crazy. I was actually talking with one of my buddies at work about this, about just how like random that was. A late round guy, 1 year at Indiana, had been at UAB the entire time before that. No one really knew a ton about him, like especially not like people who were, heavy into the draft and stuff like that. He comes in, dominates right out of the gate. Another good year in his second year. Year 3, that 2018 year. I mean, I'm a little bit down. Like it started to say like, okay, maybe he's not the best fit for Matt Nagy, but he was still productive. He was still pretty solid, all things considered. And then he got traded to the Eagles and just disappeared.
Yeah. That is the life of an NFL running back, I guess.
Dude. Yeah.
Real quick before we jump out, I actually want to get to one of these comments here. Eli Hauska, I want to make sure I'm saying that right. Asked the question: does Davante, meaning Davante Adams, help the Jets make the playoffs, or is it putting lipstick on a pig? I want to hear you say it first because I know what my opinion on this is.
Yeah. And so before I answer that, I just want to give a shout out to Schlafly, or however you pronounce it, for this vanilla.
Is it good?
So the taste on the tongue is all right, but I'm loving this. I'm loving the pumpkin aftertaste. Like, I swear this is like, I think from a beer perspective, the best aftertaste I've had. Taste on the tongue, take it or leave it. But I just like drinking it to get it out of the way, and then I can like have that taste of pumpkin in the back of my throat. It's nice.
God.
It's well, hold on. Well, wait. God.
It's only because it's you.
Yeah, literally anything I say can be taken as that.
But yeah, no, like that sounds interesting. So my wife is a huge pumpkin beer fan.
Interesting.
Now I feel like I gotta look this up. Vanilla pumpkin ale. I gotta see if they got this around here. No, I'm looking this up. I gotta see if I can find this. But yo, shout out to Schlafly.
There you go.
Vanilla pumpkin ale. Let's get it.
Pleasant surprise. But yeah, so while you're doing that, I guess I'll touch on the Davante thing. I think there's too much chaos going on with the Jets right now for me to feel like, all right, this is going to be a true playoff contender. And I look at it as, okay, maybe they'll make the wild card, because I was going through it. I'm like, I don't see a ton of AFC teams who are like legit to me right now, especially as far as like wild card contenders go. I mean, you have your class of the conference, your Chiefs, Texans, Ravens, Bills. Maybe, you can go Steelers, Chargers, they're overperforming with Jim Harbaugh as head coach. And then it's just kind of a fall off from there. Like, the Bengals aren't looking great. I mean, they have talent, but still, the defense has been in shambles. Do you trust Denver with that offense? I don't think I do. The Colts.
Listen, I've been vocal about my. I shouldn't say disdain.
Yeah,
but my distrust of Bo Nix being any good.
Yeah.
I just come on, he's going to be a great backup quarterback in this league. He's gonna play for like 12 years or longer as a backup because he's smart and he gets the ball out of his hand and does. He's not a starting quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
No.
He's a game manager, and like, it's fine to be a game manager, but it's not like a Brock Purdy where, he can hit the deep throw. He can.
Yeah, because Brock is he's a plus game manager. I think like when you kind of think about it in those terms, he is a plus game manager, which means that's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you don't do Well, okay. I feel like Brock actually toes the line because for the most part, it's like, okay, he just like hits the first read and stuff like that. But every once in a while, like Brock will be taking some risks and
Yeah.
he'll put the ball up for grabs. He's not scared. He can also move. Like
Oh, yeah.
I think like people really kind of got Brock Purdy's game a little bit messed up because they think he's just a guy who sits back there and just like throws to wide open schemed receivers. He does do that a lot,
Yeah.
but he can also create. So a plus game manager, like that's good. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think like Brock Purdy he's not elite, but I think he's definitely better than a lot of people give him credit for. And he's in a great situation, but he maximizes it and he can even elevate that team. Bo Nix, I'm not sure if he can be that guy to elevate this team. As a rookie, he's not. I mean, that's a pretty heavy ask of a rookie quarterback in most cases, but I don't know if he has the upside to do that. Time will tell. But I guess to go back to the Jets, I mean, you could make it as the 7th seed in the wild card. I mean, I have the standings up right now. Right now, it's the Colts. I don't know. They're well coached. I think with Joe Flacco, they're going to win some games.
Joe Flacco.
Yeah. It's insane. He's still playing well as old, as long as he's been in the league.
It's so interesting, man. And I don't want to get too bogged down in this because I know this was a name you were dancing around, but didn't say earlier, right? But this Pittsburgh situation is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what the Pittsburgh Steelers think they might be getting in Russell Wilson, until they prove me wrong, I actually think they're going to start Russell Wilson this week.
Yeah.
And I think they probably wanted to do it all along. And it just so happened that like, okay, we went 4-2 with Justin Fields. Like, funny story about that. So I was looking at charts for offense. The Steelers have a positive drop back EPA per play. And I'm just kind of like, that's low key. Like the last two games for Justin Fields have been more like what we saw last year in Chicago. But the first 4 games were actually like, okay, this is a little different.
Yeah.
Like, you might actually, you're actually progressing. And then I think he regressed the last couple of weeks. But and so it gave them the excuse to be like, okay, we can go back to Russell Wilson now. But I feel like what people think Russell Wilson is, or like can be, is like what Joe Flacco's doing right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what Russell Wilson's gonna do.
I think that's fair.
I don't think Russell Wilson's gonna do that. I think when it's all said and done, the Bears are gonna get that 4th round conditional pick. That's what I think.
I agree. And I mean, I'm looking at it as sure, maybe there's a little bit of bias for me being a Bears fan and all that, but I would have started Fields over Russell Wilson, especially what we've seen from him in Denver. The last couple of years, it hasn't been great. Like, especially last year was pretty disappointing. The year before that, I remember watching that Broncos Colts game, Russell Wilson versus Matt Ryan on Thursday night. And I'm like, both of these guys are just cooked. I'm sorry. This is the
done
that game I've never seen in my entire life. But I don't even know, man. But no, it's going to be interesting because I think I feel pretty confident at this stage, like saying it in year 4. I don't think that Fields is going to be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah, but I think he's enough where if you need a bridge quarterback, he carries an interesting dual threat capability that no other bridge quarterback really has. Like you're looking at bridge guys like your Sam Darnold's, I'm blanking. I was going to call Baker Mayfield a bridge. I don't even think he's that anymore. I think
Baker. See, that's like one of the interesting examples. Like Baker, I think is he's good now. I think Baker is good.
I think
and I think you wouldn't have said that 2 years ago when he was like barely scrapping to like be on the Panthers and then went to the Rams for 2 days and was like, okay, I can lead us to a win kind of thing. You didn't see what Tampa Bay, you didn't see that as being a thing that he was going to do. I didn't think. I think it's like there comes a point, and I think this is really what it is, because this is exactly the conclusion that I've come to. And Look, I think what I saw at the end of last year from Fields and what I saw from the beginning of the year is like, this could be an average to slightly above average quarterback, right? And I think the overall metrics suggest that he has been that, but the last two games have been kind of bringing it down, right? But I think this is exactly the point, right? So in science, right, it's like this idea of like, you go with the null hypothesis. I think the Steelers had the hypothesis where it's like, okay, Russell Wilson is probably the best quarterback that we have unless Justin Fields blows us away and is like significantly better. I think Justin Fields has been better than Russell Wilson has been at any point in the last like 3 years.
Yeah.
But is it like so much better that like, okay, sorry, bro, like we got to go back on our word that you were probably going to be the starter so they signed him when Kenny Pickett was still here, right? So at that point, you're just like, oh, this ain't even a question. Like,
yeah.
Kenny Pickett sucks. Like, you're the starter. And then they traded for Justin Fields. And I think they were like, okay, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
And I think they got more out of Justin Fields than they were expecting. And even like when, again, the last couple games, that you look at the passing tape and it's been like, not so good.
Yeah.
But he showed that he can kind of still win you a game even when he's not passing very well. But I think it wasn't good enough for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be like, I'm not going to go with Russell Wilson. But I bring all that up to say, this is exactly the point with what the Chicago Bears did with their decision. The Bears decided they didn't want to chase he's good or he's good enough. They wanted to chase elite. They wanted to chase the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. That's the upside that Caleb Williams has. Justin Fields, really like the guy. I'm going to root for him for like as long as he plays.
Yeah.
He's not that guy. We knew he wasn't that guy at the end of last year. Like again, I think that was it. We knew he wasn't that. It wasn't say he's trash. Okay, there's a long way between elite and trash when it comes to the NFL. But when it comes to we have the number 1 overall pick and we can do better, that's why you do it. Because we're not chasing good enough. We're chasing great. And Caleb Williams gives you the best chance to be great. And I think we're starting to see that now.
No, absolutely. And these last couple of weeks, it's really been a sight to behold, honestly. I think if he can get the deep ball consistent, I feel like there are so many aspects where he's gotten better at. He doesn't play hero ball nearly as much as he did, that first week or two. I know against the Texans, he did a little bit too much. He was a little careless of the ball. You haven't seen that much these last couple weeks. He's quick getting the ball out. He's accurate getting the ball out. He's another thing I think that not a lot of people are talking about. I think he's done a much better job of knowing when to take off and run. There are too many times early on in that year where I'm like, dude, you're scrambling, just run.
Just get exactly
space.
Yes.
And
you're a good athlete. Like you can run. See, it's funny because it's funny you mentioned that, right? Because CJ Stroud is a guy in college where it's like you had the athleticism to run, but CJ Stroud would like literally refuse to run the football.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna run this damn ball. he would have a first down ahead of me. Nope, throw it in.
Yeah.
And again, most of the time, because he was playing at Ohio State, if he threw it, it was a touchdown. So it's like it didn't matter. Right. But it's like Caleb sometimes just like, listen, as they say, you don't go broke taking a profit. Sometimes the profit's taking the 8 yards ahead of you. You don't gotta throw that. Right. Like I know DJ Moore is down there, but he's double covered. Or like, that's going to be a contested. Take the 8 yards.
Yeah.
That's okay. And I feel like we got to like think about the nuance of the quarterback position, right? This isn't like where Justin Fields is like, okay, well, I could throw this ball, but I'm going to run it because I'm going to run it because if I pop it, it's a big play. where it's like Caleb is always scrambling to throw. He's not scrambling to run.
Yeah.
And so I think that there are times where it's like, okay, look, I really appreciate your point guard mentality and that you want to throw the ball, but every once in a while it's okay to just pick up the first down with your legs. That's okay. We're not going to hate you for that. And if people do hate you for that, get them the bleep out of here. I don't want to hear from them.
Exactly. And it's been encouraging to see. And obviously, you're looking at Caleb, you're not expecting him to top 1,000 yards rushing by any means. That's not his game. That's not who he is. But even I think it was last week that he had 56 yards, something like that, is getting in that 40, 50 yards rushing. You're able to work seriously with something like that. And slowly but surely get a couple runs a game, scramble a little bit. Obviously, I love that he keeps his head up and looks for the pass first.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to pass every single time. And I think that's something Caleb's getting better at, among many other things that I think we've seen growth in with him. But I think one in particular is, all right, hey, there's a pretty clear running lane for me to pick up some free yards. I'm just going to take it.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, and again, I'm not making this comparison to compare the players or say it's an apples to apples, but you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Generally, like he's a guy that is dangerous when he wants to run, but he's usually sitting at like 300, 320-ish, or actually more like 350, really. 350 rushing yards a year. And it's like all on scrambles. You don't do design runs with Patrick Mahomes. That's franchise. You can't do that. But he's not looking to run all the time, right? This isn't a 1,000-yard rushing quarterback, but you don't have to do that.
No.
When you can throw the ball as well as they can, but it's a matter of keeping it dangerous. And obviously, like Caleb's ability to evade people while scrambling is special stuff. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of people do it the way he does it.
Oh, geez.
Where I think that he kind of has that Patrick Mahomes in him, where it's just like his speed is N+1. Like it is like 1 mile per hour better than the defender chasing him. Just whatever it has to be, it is.
Yeah.
Right. And he can find a way to get away from you to either run or throw down the field. But like that's the thing. He's as fast as he needs to be.
100.
Right, to do what he's got to do. Last thing before we jump out, because coming out of the bye, we don't have a show during the bye week. Thank goodness. I need a break. I'm gonna rag it around here, but so I want to preview this a little bit now. We don't got to get too in depth. Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels, as of right now, is one of the top graded quarterbacks in the league. And so far, in terms of like EPA per play, like plus like completion percentage over expected, is the top quarterback in the league. I personally was higher on Jaden Daniels than a bunch of people were. A lot of people brought up the fact that he did throw the middle of the field particularly well, but you saw him throw the middle of the field at times in college and you think like, oh, it's not that he can't do it. He just doesn't do it enough. And he's doing it enough at the NFL level, in addition to everything else that he does. He's just been playing some kind of remarkable football for a Commanders team I did not think anything of. I didn't think anything of them at all. And their defense is horrible. So it's like shootout time. But really quickly, when you look at those two players, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and what they've done so far this year, like, just how exciting is that to watch them coming up in this matchup? And are they better or different in ways than you thought when you were watching them coming out of the draft?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm really excited for Jaden and Caleb to go up against each other. I think that, honestly, the Commanders, them being 4-2, like they probably have as many wins now as I thought they were going to have all year. Like I thought they were going to
be bad.
Oh, geez. Yeah. And like on paper, that's not an unbelievable roster. Like the defense isn't great, but at the same time, that comes to show what Jaden Daniels has been doing. and how well he's been executing in just, high percentage completions, sprinkling in a little bit of deep ball here and there, and doing well at being efficient in doing so. But the dual threat capabilities, his athleticism, but also his consistency, getting the ball out quickly. And I do think, comparing the two, I think that Caleb Williams is asked to do more than Jaden Daniels is at this point. But again, it goes back to that same point we were making with JJ McCarthy, who wasn't asked to do a whole lot. Does it necessarily matter right now that Jaden isn't being asked to do a lot when he's getting results? That's a question you have to ask. And is that something where it's like, oh, eventually defenses are going to figure the offense out? You can argue that until the cows come home, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, but until Jaden Daniels, it's like we said earlier, right? It's like you can look at it as, well, he's not asked to do that much. But when you're executing as well as Jaden Daniels is, your thought is, well, then let's ask him to do a little bit more and let's push to the level that he can't top. But again, he's a rookie, right? Both him and Caleb Williams are rookies. And I think, to your point, right, Caleb Williams is being asked to, I think, carry a bigger load.
Yeah.
In terms of processing and, I think really like being the guy, like the playmaker of this offense. And I think sometimes asking him to lean a little bit into the Superman tendencies, where I feel like with Jaden Daniels, I feel like you could see it on his tape. Like, this is a guy who can get the ball out quickly. Yeah. Not that both of them, like Caleb Williams, get the ball out fast too. But Jaden Daniels is the kind of guy that, like, yeah, he scrambled a lot and he held onto the ball a lot and took a lot of sacks. But I think what Cliff Kingsbury's got him doing this year is just being like, yo, just get that thing out of your hands. We don't want to see you with the ball in your hands as much as it is. Like, we got playmakers. We got Terry McLaurin. Freaking De'Ami Brown is out here, like, probably having the best year he's ever had. Right? But
Hurts is turning the clock back.
Yeah, but it's like that's the kind of thing, right? Just throw the ball, right? Your instincts are good. The guys are open. Throw the football. And he's doing it. And that's the point where we're not going to know the answer to that part, where it's like, can he handle more? You just got to keep giving him more and see what he does. Yeah. Caleb, they're giving him everything. So if he's doing it now, that means he can do it later. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's different styles of going about the quarterback situation. I don't know. I don't want to hate on Daniels because he doesn't deserve it. I mean, honestly, he's playing really good football. And say what you want about the offense, say what you want about whatever. We keep coming back to, he's doing what he's asked to do, and he's doing it very well. And I think that that's something where I look at that. It's going to be an exciting game. I'm curious as to how the Bears offense is going to do against that, the Commanders defense that struggled a little bit, but also how the Bears defense is going to do against Washington too. Because Chicago, I mean, they've really held their own against every single team that they've gone up against. And I don't think they haven't allowed, the most points they've allowed in a single game this year is 21 points. The Commanders, if I crunch the numbers real quick here, their season low is 20. Their season low is 20. Then they had 21, 38, 42, 34. So it's two teams in, different situations, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just excited to see how that's going to turn out. I hope the Bears win. That would be awesome. But at the same time, I think it's just going to be a good football game in general.
I cannot wait. And you know what else I can't wait for? Look, we didn't even get to my games I was going to be watching this Sunday. The Bears just whooped on the Jaguars. Now I got to see if the Patriots can do it with Drake Maye, number 3 overall pick, who had an up and down roller coaster kind of game. But if we're being honest, it was the best rookie debut we've seen this year. He has 3 touchdown passes, 3 turnovers as well. Let's not forget about that. One of them was a really horrible luck interception. You want to talk about bad beats? ball gets batted up in the air. The defender is like flailing backwards, glued to a receiver, and the ball just lands in his like. Come on, that's an absolutely terrible beat. One bad throw, a bad overthrow, and then he gets jumped from behind on for a strip sack where the right tackle just gets absolutely pants. That's tough. But 3 touchdown passes, and you saw the athleticism. You saw him being able to throw guys open. You're just like, yeah, this Drake Maye. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you saw what you thought you were going to see from him, and I can't wait for that because that's also going to happen. Caleb Williams versus Drake Maye. I'm so ready for that. Think of how spoiled Bears fans get to be.
Oh, geez,
to get Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams versus Drake Maye in the same year. That's wild.
That's nuts. And it's a real like measuring stick. Get to see like how are these rookies stacking up to each other? And I'm excited for what Drake Maye can do. I think that Patriots team's a long ways away from competing, but I think Drake Maye can be a dude. I really do. I think he'd be QB1 in most, maybe not most, but a good chunk of draft classes other than just the one he happened to be in. Like the arms there, the athleticism's there, the size is there, the flashes of, the playmaking and the accuracy down the field, the big play stuff.
I kind of wonder, honestly, if Caleb Williams wasn't in this draft class. I mean, I know obviously Jaden Daniels taken ahead of Drake Maye, but I just wonder if Caleb Williams is not in this draft class, do people bet on the traits of Drake Maye over picking Jaden Daniels? I'm really curious about this.
Yeah.
But I saw Eric in the chat more excited for the Bears defensive line versus the Patriots line. Listen, as somebody who's talked about, I'm out here in Boston, right? So somebody who's talked a lot about the Patriots offensive line. I think you feel pretty good about that matchup. I absolutely I think that's very much true, especially like we got a podcast up right now with the group that I'm working with with David Andrews and Brian Hoyer, which by the way they've got a new episode out today that really cooked with some, first of all, Drake Maye reaction, but also some stories from the crazy 28-3 comeback they had in the Super Bowl and like the Brady versus Belichick stuff. Even if you're not a Patriots fan and you hate the Patriots, I would recommend checking that out because it's just football nerd stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like from a quarterback who's seen it all, Brian Hoyer, Bears legend, Brian Hoyer, right? 397 yards at one point back in 2016. I was actually there for that training camp. That was kind of crazy. Yeah. And David Andrews, a guy who's won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots and been part of some of the most impactful games of, this last, 2 decades, right? But it's just like you hear stuff from those guys. It's really incredible stuff. But I think like losing somebody like David Andrews and now you're mixing and matching centers with the Patriots, like even if they've got some continuity on the offensive line, I still don't think they have anybody who blocks, Montez Sweat or Jervon Dexter.
Yeah. And I think that I feel like it's going to be a pretty easy mock draft selection to do an offensive tackle to the Patriots, whether it's Kelvin Banks out of Texas is the dude I really like, Will Campbell out of LSU. Those are the top 2 guys for me right now. I think one of those 2 could very easily be an early pick. I've seen a few with Travis Hunter for him. That could be interesting. I don't know too much about the Patriots secondary this year, but I know he's someone who can play both sides of the ball, like unbelievable ball skills and athleticism. I mean, it's something worth thinking about.
Yeah, I saw Jordan Reed from ESPN, whom I really like. He suggested like, look, he included the caveat that's like, look, probably the best thing that they can do is trade back, like because right now it's like they're projected for the number 2 overall pick. Right now, I think they currently have the number 1 overall pick. The New England Patriots do via tiebreakers. But if they got the number 2 overall pick, right? It's like the thing that you would probably want to do is trade out and then go pick up your left tackle of the future later on. But it's like, if you can't, if it doesn't make sense, what do you do? And there's this part of me that's just like, dog, just play Travis Hunter at left tackle. He's probably better than what you've got right now.
I mean, he can play anywhere on the field. He might as well be able to play left tackle.
Put him anywhere. And there's also this part of me, man, that's like putting Travis Hunter opposite Christian Gonzalez, who is low key. And again, people keep sleeping on this dude. He shadows the best receiver that the other team has got. He put Tyreek Hill in hell. Tyreek does not want to see Christian Gonzalez anymore.
He's the truth.
And I mean, he got worked by Stephon Diggs, you know, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen when you take those kinds of responsibilities on yourself and you have a better passing offense than what the Miami Dolphins have right now without Tua. But he takes on that burden every game and does a damn good job. And then you put somebody like Travis Hunter opposite, like it won't, I don't think it'll happen because I think the Patriots just have to get a tackle. They have to do it. But damn, somebody can dream. Like having the two of them at corner, just not fair. Absolutely unfair.
You're not throwing the ball at those guys, that's for sure.
No, it's like literally one of those things where like the receivers just don't touch the ball, I guess.
Like,
you don't see that very often, but like you don't want to throw over there.
Yeah,
you don't want to throw at either one of them because you screw up and that's going the other way. Like especially with Travis Hunter, like his instincts are ridiculous. Like
it's insane.
And he drives on balls and makes plays that he's just not supposed to make. See, that's the thing. I feel like, yeah, he could play receiver, but I think he'd probably be more like like he'd probably be like an okay receiver. But the ball skills at corner are disgusting.
Absurd.
That's part of the problem is a lot of corners can't catch the football.
Yeah.
Like his ball skills are like preternatural. Like that's some sixth sense level shit where you're just like, no, this dude should not be catching this football. But because he plays both ways, he's got good hands. And so like some of the catches he makes a wide receiver are also like, oh damn. He could play. I could nerd out with you forever, but we're almost an hour and a half into this thing. We gotta let people go. I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah.
That kid did not let me sleep last night, my brother.
Oof, that's tough, but man, yeah, no, we'll definitely have to talk more draft like as the season goes on because I mean, dude, like it's just Travis Hunter in himself. Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty are so much fun, but you know, it can on and on and on.
No, we got to let you cook. Listen, I'm all about letting you cook. We had some fun stuff, man. We were talking about best like high school players we saw and stuff like that. Honestly, I forgot. Honestly, until you asked, I forgot some of the dudes I played against. Like literally, like I remember making a kick return tackle against somebody who went to Purdue the next year, and I'm just like, oh shit! Like I actually did some stuff on the field. Don't play with me. So it's like it's no wonder when I go out playing and I'm the guy who's like, you're not touching the ball. I'm that guy out here in the Boston football scene. We'll leave it at that. But, thank you all so much for watching Bears Over Beers. We appreciate you. Please join us next time. I'm Khari Thompson. That's Jacob Davante. Peace out.